Gem Hunt and Crack the Whip. Yes, I am lumping these two episodes together because after watching Gem Hunt, it was pretty clear to me that while it was its own self-contained episode, it was basically just setting up for Crack the Whip, and probably tonight's episode too, but after watching Crack the Whip as well, you could put those episodes back to back with nothing but a commercial break separating them, and they would be just as obviously a full-length episode as Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem or The Return and Jailbreak, which is kind of what I suspected. I'm glad that I was right, because now I can put them together into one review. I have actually recorded several versions of this review, and every single time I make the mistake of focusing on specifics, on specific details, and where I feel that those specific details are leading the show, and I end up going off onto tangents where I start speculating about where this storyline is taking us instead of focusing on the episodes themselves. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus instead on the impressions that these episodes left me with. The emotional resonance, so to speak. And in that case, both of these episodes are very similar. They both start out very lighthearted, very humorous, and then degenerate into something much more menacing. In Gem Hunt, Steven, Pearl, and Connie go on Connie's first gem retrieval mission, and Steven and Connie split up from Pearl when they discover that they're tracking two creatures instead of just one. We get a huge montage of humorous, cute Steven and Connie scenes where they're just being Steven and Connie together, and it's freaking awesome, including a very atmospheric scene where they're camping out in a rotted out tree, and Steven explains to Connie the nature of corruption and how much he wishes he could fix it. And at the end, we discover that Jasper has been hunting the two creatures as well, that she's collecting them for some reason, and that the creatures have been running from her. And at the end, after Pearl arrives as well to face Jasper with them, Jasper just leaves. And it has an underlying message of Connie being upset that she froze when the gem creature attacked her, that she wasn't able to fight it. But she is reassured by Pearl that she did the right thing, that she wasn't supposed to fight it, she was just supposed to find the creature and then wait for Pearl to get there. Which seemed like kind of a cop-out, because what have you been training her to do if not fight? But whatever. But the most important takeaway from this episode is Jasper is still here. She's still doing stuff, and she definitely has something planned. But we don't get any indication of what that is in this episode, above and beyond the fact that she's collecting gems for some reason. And incidentally enough, she's collecting other Jaspers. The two gems that were featured in this episode are an Ocean Jasper and a Biggs Jasper, which is kind of interesting because in the Bismuth promo that we got recently, one of the other names of other crystal gems that Bismuth mentions is either Bix or Biggs. Biggs quite possibly being Biggs Jasper, meaning that this Biggs Jasper creature could be the corrupted version of a crystal gem. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that both of these are corrupted forms of crystal gems, of types of Jasper that sided with Rose instead of Homeworld. We also get some fantastic interactions between Pearl, Steven, and Connie in this. Pearl in this episode is just freaking adorable. As cute as the scenes between Steven and Connie were, Pearl's scenes managed to outdo those scenes with how freaking adorable they were. It was pretty incredible. But like I said before, even though this is technically its own self-contained episode, it doesn't really resolve anything. Jasper is still out there. So moving into Crack the Whip immediately, I'm assuming this is just a couple days later maybe, at the most, Pearl and Garnet are heading out to try to find Jasper. They're heading back out to that same region to try to find Jasper. And they leave Amethyst at home in charge. However, Connie was supposed to have a sword fighting lesson that day. Pearl had completely forgotten about it, so Connie is there as well. And so is Lion. We finally see him again, which was pretty great. But the point is, it's Connie, Steven, and Amethyst. They're at the temple house alone. Connie and Steven still decide they want to train a little bit, but Amethyst eventually ends up convincing them that training is pointless. Because you can never know exactly what you're going to be fighting, so you just have to understand that you're going to have to be loose and adaptable to the situation. Which is a horrible message. Absolutely horrible. The point of martial arts training is to prepare yourself to be able to react to any conceivable situation. But we do get, again, a montage of very funny, very enjoyable scenes where Amethyst is corrupting the youth of America, for lack of a better term. She's basically teaching them to Amethyst it up. And we get some great scenes. I particularly really loved a scene between Steven and Connie in the ocean where they start splashing each other. You're the best. No, you're the best. No, you're the best. It's just, guys, they love each other so much, and it's so freaking sweet. However, it turns out that, surprise, surprise, Jasper didn't just stay put in the exact same place she was. She has brought both of the gem monsters, and plans to lead an assault on Beach City, with two corrupted gems. Probably not her brightest plan, but I don't really get the impression that Jasper's a great tactician, so maybe this really is Jasper's brightest plan? Point is, now they don't have any choice but to fight. Steven and Connie don't have any choice but to fight. So the two of them, along with Lion, fight one of the creatures. Amethyst has already poofed one of them at this point. They fight one of the creatures while Amethyst fights Jasper and gets destroyed. Not literally, it's not like her gem gets shattered, but she gets her butt handed to her, and then Jasper poofs her with the intention of shattering her gem, and on instinct, Steven and Connie fuse into Stevani, and they pretty effortlessly fight Jasper to the point that she feels like she doesn't have any choice but to retreat. It was spectacular. It was a very short fight scene, but it was easily one of my favorite in the entire series so far. We finally have some idea of Stevani's upward limits, and they're even more impressive than I would have thought. Without being unrealistic either, because these are two kids who have been training like crazy to use what skills and strength they do have to the best of their ability, so it makes sense that when they fuse, not only would they know each other well enough to be able to work well as a team as part of a fusion, but they would know each other well enough to be able to apply their individual skills to fighting as one person. But anyway, Jasper gives a big speech about how Jaspers never give up. They always keep going until they get what they want. So we do know that Jasper is after something. She does want something out of this. And then she backs into the ocean in a scene reminiscent of Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. The crew really seems to be heavily invoking the rival-turned-ally trope with Jasper in these last few episodes, which is fantastic, because I have a theory that Jasper is going to turn good eventually, and I really like that theory to be proven right, because I have far less self-esteem than I pretend to in these videos. But as all of this happens, as Stevani is fighting Jasper, Amethyst regenerates, but at the end of it all, she's very obviously hurt. In the end, Steven and Connie didn't need her. She didn't need to be there. And that's why I feel like these two episodes fit so well together. Because in the first episode, you got the message that training itself is enough, that you never have to apply that training. And in the second episode, you got the very skewed message that training is pointless and you should just do whatever. You should just act. But Steven and Connie even say outright that after they fused, when they went to fight Jasper, they put all of their training to use. Instinctually, they found a balance between the two teaching methods. So at the very end of these two episodes, the two messages come together and find a middle ground that turns out to be the real message. It makes me wonder if at some point before the whole Steven Summer Adventure thing came to be, the crew expected these two to be maybe a mid-season finale or a half-hour-long special episode or something, because they definitely give off the vibe that that's what they are. Of course, I expect Steven vs. Amethyst later tonight to be just as interconnected with the rest of this plot as these two episodes were with each other, so who knows, maybe this is just a really tightly woven story arc. All of that said, these two episodes were great. They establish a new dynamic, they establish a new plotline, yet they still manage to tell fantastic stories on their own, and a fantastic overreaching story between the two of them. They contain probably my favorite fight scene in the show after Garnet versus Jasper back in Jailbreak. And while there wasn't a whole bunch of lore stuff here to really focus on, the plot was just so fantastic that I don't even care. Also, yes, more Stevani! We're getting more Stevani than I ever could have dreamed. Stevani is such a great character and I love seeing them developed more in this recent run of episodes. All of that said, guys, what did you think of these episodes? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22 and I will talk to you guys later.
If I know these two imbeciles, they'll expect me to flee by air, but I wasn't born yesterday.